Today's show and the following message are brought to you by Agriscience Labs, the largest, most established cannabis testing network in Colorado. To find out how you can get the most accurate and reliable test results, visit agriscience.com.
We've built this terrific operations platform. We've built all of these operations protocols that are really built and designed to be scalable, to be replicable. We've built a terrific operations team around it, and we're doing all of it to help others build their businesses. We need to start doing some of this on our own.
From Bummin' It Media, it's the MJBulls podcast, a show about raising cannabis capital. I'm Dan Humiston, and on today's show, how 4Front Ventures is applying years of cannabis retail operation experience to Mission, their nationwide chain of cannabis dispensaries. Hey, Kris, how's it going?
It's going well. It's a nice day for a cannabis conference.
It is. We're here at the Cannabis World Congress Business Expo in Los Angeles with Kris Krane. And Kris is the president of 4Front Ventures. I'm going to let Kris tell you the story, but I met Kris a few years ago when he was more in an advisory capacity, but their company has morphed into so much more. So Kris, can you maybe bring us back to when you guys first started and, what got you to where you are right now?
Sure. So, to take it back just a little bit farther, I spent most of my career working on cannabis policy in Washington, D.C. So I was one of the founding members of Students for Sensible Drug Policy. When I was an undergrad, I was the associate director at Normal for 6 years in D.C. and then the executive director of Students for Sensible Drug Policy. So I've been in this for a long time. We started 4Front in 2011 as 4Front Advisors, a consulting business, where we brought in some really high-level folks from outside the cannabis industry to create SOPs and operational best practices, as well as some regulatory experts where we would help people win licenses and then help them set up their best practice operations, particularly on the retail end.
Well, in 2011, there wasn't a lot of licenses out.
There were not. That's right. We were involved in some of those early states, and we won a lot of licenses for clients around the country and really built a robust operations model for people to run a scalable, replicable retail. And it was in about 2014, 2015 that we started with our evolution from consultants into operators. And part of it was, we started getting some access to capital, and we kind of took a look at the landscape and said, we've built this terrific operations platform. We've built all of these operations protocols that are really built and designed to be scalable, to be replicable. We've built a terrific operations team around it, and we're doing all of it to help others build their businesses. We need to start doing some of this on our own. One of the differentiators between us and some of the other multi-state operators out there is that we spent a lot of time building the engine. So building the SOPs, building the operations protocols, building the manuals, building a training program.
Initially, you're doing that for all the people that you're advising.
That's correct.
And you're perfecting it through working with them in all their different states.
That's right.
And now you're saying, we have this model in place. Let's do it on our own.
We have the model, we have the access to capital, we've got the operating talent, we should start doing some of this on our own. And so that sort of began this evolution from consulting into operating.
Okay.
And I think, again, what differentiates us from some of the other multi-state operators out there is that I think a lot of our competitors in the space, some of whom do a really nice job, came from the business world and are really looking at this as a roll-up strategy, where they're going out and they're collecting licenses all around the country, but they may have a lot of disparate brands and are really spending more time on the roll-up than they are on how you execute and operate a coherent brand strategy across multiple states.
So there's like a real eclectic group of companies that aren't really, there's no synergy between each one of the groups, whereas you're specifically going in saying, this is our brand, this is how we're going to do it, and maybe not grow at that rate through acquisitions. We're going to do it organically.
Right. And we are doing some acquisitions, but we're much more targeted. We're trying to acquire companies that we think we can retrofit into our model.
Okay.
But we're really focused on execution, and we spend a lot of time building the engine, so to speak, so that we can replicate not just operations, but culture, which I think is really important. We think ultimately, if you're trying to build a brand, particularly a brand in the retail space, which is where our primary focus is, it's really important that if a customer goes into one store and they have a terrific experience, if they go into another store in another part of the state or another part of the country, even if it's a very different regulatory environment, that they feel like they're walking into the exact same culture that they... Starbucks, or you think about any sort of chain where it's not just the aesthetic, but it's the way that the staff interacts with people. Because if you have a good experience in one store and then you go into another store and the experience is subpar, it really reflects negatively on your entire brand.
Or different. It doesn't even have to be subpar.
Or different.
Exactly. I'm expecting it this way. and you're giving it to me this way. It's not wrong.
Right. It's very
just
off-putting.
different.
It's extremely off-putting to the customers.
I get frustrated with TSA at different airports if they don't do it exactly the same way.
We've got 2 stores open today, one on the south side of Chicago and one in Allentown.
Okay.
We will have 7 stores open by the end of this year. We'll be rolling out 3 stores in Maryland over the course of the next 3 months. Our first one will open in about a week and a half in Glenmont, Maryland, just outside of Silver Spring. And then the next month in the city of Baltimore and Hamden, and the month after that in Catonsville, which is Baltimore County. All those stores are built out and done. In fact, we got our final approval from the state today for Glenmont, so we will absolutely be opening in a week and a half there. And then we have a store in Worcester, Massachusetts.
Okay.
That'll be opening. And also, it looks like in November. That store is about 95% built out at this point. And another big project in Massachusetts, I can't give the details of yet, but
that's awesome.
It's a pretty major acquisition for us.
So that's some real fast growth. And then I also saw that there's you have a cultivation facility. And
so we have a couple. We have a cultivation facility that's operational in Illinois. Our first products are hitting the market this week in Illinois, so we're one of the last to get up and running there. And then we have a cultivation facility also in Worcester, Massachusetts, that'll be opening within the next couple of months. That one is also about 90% built out, and we're waiting on some final approvals from the state. So we should have plants in the ground there by the end of the year.
Just a quick thank you to one of our sponsors. Bridgewest LLC is one of the first accounting firms in the world to focus solely on the cannabis industry and is your one-stop provider for accounting, audit, tax, and advisory service. They're offering a free 30-minute intro call to one of their leadership teams to all MJBulls listeners. Go to bridgewestcpas.com, and now back to the show. Our listeners, I'm sure, are anxious to hear about this because there really is not a lot of national chain plans that we've heard. And so when we hear people that are talking about some sort of national chain or aspirations for a national chain, it gets everybody's attention.
Sure.
Tell us how, if there's an investor or somebody that's sitting there and has a little extra capital that wants a chance on your company, how can they get involved?
Well, it just so happens that we're in the midst of a capital raise as we speak. We're kind of on the tail end. We should be closing it out by the end of next week, maybe in the middle of next week. It's going very well, but we can still bring some folks in if people are interested.
Okay.
So we're doing, this is a $15 million raise. We may very well go up to 20. We had about 10 million of that spoken for before we officially launched. So I think we'll probably get closer to the 20 million figure there. It's a pre-RTO round, so we are planning on getting publicly listed on the CSE in Canada later this year. So we'll be doing another round later on this year in coordination with us going public.
Within 2018?
That's the plan. Okay. We're pushing really hard to get this done in November, December.
Wow.
But we're closing the pre-RTO round now. Most of the proceeds from this round are going to go to help us close the acquisition that I mentioned earlier. We've got a very strategic and important acquisition that we're finalizing in Massachusetts currently.
I
can't talk about it openly, but it is very important and very strategic acquisition for us there. So a good chunk of this round will go to help us close out that acquisition, as well as to both optimize one of the facilities that we're buying and to expand their cultivation capacity in that facility, as well as to help finish up some of the other projects we have going on. So the dispensaries I mentioned, those were all funded and built out. So this is going to help finalize our grow in Massachusetts, as well as finalize this acquisition.
So if somebody's interested, how would they participate in either this round that you're doing right now or the next round? Who do they contact?
Sure. So they can either go to our website, which is 4frontventures.com. So it's the numeral 4 and then frontventures.com. They can also send an email to info@4frontventures.com and let them know that they're interested in investing. That email will get read quickly and passed along to the right people.
Sure.
And
I'm sure you're working with investment bankers and everything. So yeah.
Yes. Because this is a pre-RTO round, we have we actually have a formal investment bank up in Canada that we're working with. 8 Capital is our lead up there, but they can come in through us. We'll get everyone under NDA and get the docs out quickly, and we can be quite efficient.
And we'll have all of their information on the MJBulls website. If you wanted to look at stuff, Kris, this is really interesting. This is an exciting project. I mean, I have a little experience in the retail. I have a pretty good feel for what you're going through right now. It's exciting. Good for you.
It is. It's been a lot of work. Like everything in this industry, it's a real grind, but I think we've built the engine to pull this off. And there's a lot of talk about valuations and land grab and roll-ups and all of that. And I think, when the dust settles on all of this, it really comes down to who can execute, right? An ability to execute well and execute a national strategy. And we may not have quite the footprint that some of our competitors have today. We're close, but we're much more strategic and focused in how we handle this. And I think the majority of folks in the industry are, and really have spent a lot of time thinking about how you execute and how we execute on this. I'm really proud of what we built, and I feel good about where we are moving forward.
Well, Kris Krane, this has been really a pleasure to speak with you today, and I wish you the best of luck. This is going to be exciting to watch.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me on and giving the chance to talk with you and your listeners.
Thanks. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Just a quick thank you to one of our sponsors, Trevitt Hill. Managing and supporting a cannabis investment is both time-consuming and expensive. Trevitt Hill provides cannabis investors with an external team to help their investment reignite growth. To learn more, go to TrevittHill.com. Thanks for listening to the MJBulls podcast. To learn more about today's guests or to apply to be a guest, visit our website at MJBulls.com. And if you like our show, give us a review on iTunes. Today's show was produced by Bumminit Media. I'm Dan Humiston, and you've been listening to the MJ Bulls Podcast.